So as far as what we do, what I kind of expect, what works coming from graphics is getting the logos and stuff ready. As far as like looking what will push through, it's as simple as just taking a circle, like this is an 1/8 inch circle here, and seeing if it will clear all the little parts here. So I just turned snap to off, and then you can see if it gets in. So that's an 1/8 inch bit. And so obviously there's a lot of opening up that needs to happen if we're going to do an 1/8 inch bit, which would really change everything. But like if you go to wireframe though, so that's as simple as that. Like if you go bonk up here, you know you're going to lose this because the router bit's going to only get that far up. So it's kind of as simple as that, but also making sure like getting through passages. So you kind of look for narrow spots and you just literally take your router bit and you see, oh, that'll clear. So you're okay to do a push through there. These letters actually are okay for mostly for push through. It's just we lose. That's how much gets chopped off. So these guys would, have little like, elephant feet versus that. So that's the issue there. Even if you were to take I don't have a hot 16th button, but so you could take theoretically a 16th bit, but they like to snap off. But you could just oversize it a little bit. 16th bit could get in there. Sometimes he also will just kind of run the 16th bit just in the areas that need to be widened. But so you can see if he wants to do a 16th bit, maybe you could do it for this set. But also, yeah, you just not only is it the serifs, but you kind of just look for the choke points, look for narrow spots to make sure. There's 1/8 inch. Yeah, so you make sure it'll get in there. That should be fine. I noticed on the A, it's a little bit thin, but we're okay there. So anyway, that's it for that. Just making sure you can get stuff in before you send it to me so I don't have to bounce it back. I could do this sort of, but I don't, anything doing changing logos, I can do it. Technically, I can move nodes, but I don't know what's good with the customer. I don't know what's good with what looks good, kerning. I don't know. So that's why I'd kind of send it back. Because you have the eye, plus you kind of know what the customer wants. Can we change their logo without them squawking at us? Will they run out going, no, that's not the way my grandfather did it? All that stuff. So anyway, obviously for this, just making sure that, anytime you see a lot of nodes, I just grab the node tool a lot of times and zoom in and just look for the nastiness that we can't route for push through. But the other thing is like this, getting something ready that is sort of, this is vinylable. But as far as for me, I don't know what I should fuse together. And again, we lose this for routing. So the chunk of acrylic will be different than what you are sending me once we're all said and done. All these things will be rounded off, all this stuff. Again, it's just a matter of cleaning up. But the other thing is, if this circle is supposed to be round, can we just make it round? So sometimes when you're going to do push through stuff, is it okay to sterilize the logo and get it cleaned up and make it just sort of like you do camera ready artwork or vector artwork? You kind of change their scan from a business card to cleaning it up. So like these guys here could be an ellipse that we stretch out, but it's clean. And then can we copy paste it, flip, so that way it's a standardized, because when we go to assemble this, there's no real way to mark push throughs. So Fabra's out there, trying this, flipping it back and forth, 1, 2, which one does it fit in? Because there's really not a way to really tell the nuances. So with push through, you lose nuance essentially. So, and like from a distance, you don't really tell that this is organic. I get why sometimes, they want their logo to look all pretty, but can you really even tell that this is, an organic wobbly circle? You could theoretically, from a distance like this, get away with making these standardized. And then I understand the pedals have their own character. I understand you can't really, but what I would do is like, if you could, I would just bifurcate. I would chop one side, get it standardized, and then flip it and weld it, and then make that a symmetrical pedal, and then you can just click it around and put it on the 4 points. That way we have identical logo all the way around. But I get that this has character. This guy's kind of fat over here, it's more pointy there, so there is going to be a north, east, southwest pedals. That's a 1 out of 4. That's not that big a deal as far as like fab trying to figure out which one goes in which. Not that big a deal, but it is what it boils down to is like these jaggedy points here. So that all needs to be taken care of before it comes to me, because I end up with something like this and I don't know exactly what to do as far as, I know I could figure it out, but what I would do is then try to take this and maybe do, instead of a straight across would look kind of rubbish, I would just take this and maybe make a soft bend in, and then that would be it. And that way the router can do that. It'll look nice and it'll come back around. And then the same thing here, just do a soft bend, connect that. But I can't really deal with having the separate pieces, even though I understand this is vinyl, but this doesn't do me any good as far as, so these things need to be ironed out. So whether or not you just, get rid of this part and then, get rid of all this, because again, this just, you just need to think of the piece of plastic, the piece of acrylic, and then, this could be brought over here. Well, we'll just add a little nodie there. There you go. Just a little nodie. So like that. So, this kind of needs to be brought into the fold there like that. So let's do some cusp. What do we want to do? Yeah. There we go. So something like that, cleaned up. But that's what I'm looking for. And then once I have this part figured out, then you can come back and then figure out how you want to send this to vinyl and what gets vinyl based on the acrylic chunk. So this is kind of what I'm looking for as far as like when it comes to this logo thing. But I do appreciate having the full, like the color, so I know what's going on. I know that this is going to be a double layer vinyl with some orange and yellow, but having them separate doesn't do me any good. And then having all this unresolved stuff just kind of sets us back. So but standardizing, quote unquote, sterilizing the logo, if we can get away with it. Like I say, maybe they do look for this organic look and it's kind of rubbish, but just understand you lose all of this in routing, and it's tougher for us to assemble. And if we can just make things easier, but again, just making sure that like letters are the same. That brings this up. So California is fat, I noticed. So this got sent over with a double stack. So I don't know which one I'm supposed to use, the fatter one or the skinnier one. I did notice, though, that the skinnier one matches the bottom, speaking of matching letters. So if you match this up to this, that's the same R. So that's good. So when they go to assemble this, so I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume, so tell me which one. If I get rid of the fat one, maybe that is what's supposed to be the California Realty, because it matches, but I don't know if they wanted that to be fatter or not. So anyway, stuff like that, just go wireframe, try to clean up as much as possible as far as what's there, and then and that'll keep the engineer happy. But anyway, that's how I see it.